This laptop right here is a Gateway NV55C. It is a mid-range laptop from roughly 2010, making it 13 years old at the time of recording. This laptop features a Intel i3 370M CPU, which is one of the slowest and one of the first ever made i3 CPUs. It was released right after the Core 2 Duos and Core 2 Quads. It also has 4GB of DDR3 RAM. It has the original Intel HD graphics, and for the boot drive, I swapped it out to a Samsung 860 EVO around 4 years ago. And today I will be fixing this laptop as well as cleaning it up, and I will also be benchmarking it. What I'm going to be fixing is the USB ports. 2 of the 3 USB ports are currently broken. A couple years ago, I did take the USB ports out, but I never ordered a replacement. So today, I finally got the replacement, and I will be installing them to make this laptop much cleaner and much better. So first, I'm going to take the laptop apart. And to take the laptop apart, all I need to do is take out the battery, which is extremely easy. It's just a little clip, you just have to push it in, and then pull the battery out. No tools are required. So after taking the battery out, the first step to take the laptop apart is to take off a plastic cover on the bottom of the laptop. It is the shape of a rectangle, and there is 2 screws in it. Those 2 screws are the same size screws as the screws you use in the rest of the laptop, so you don't have to worry about losing those screws. Now, to take the rectangle plastic cover out, it is actually quite hard because the panel is in there very tight. And yes, there is a chance you might end up breaking something when you try to take the panel off. You might break a small little clip, but it's fine. It's held in with screws as well. And I was actually struggling to get this panel off, so I had to fiddle with it for a while, and I ended up being able to pry it out. So once the panel is off, now all you have to do is literally unscrew every single screw in the bottom of the laptop. And all of the screws except 3 are the exact same size. And those 3 screws that are not the exact same size are the super small screws that are in the battery tray of the laptop. Once all of the screws are out, now you can go over and take out the DVD drive. And it will take a little bit of force at first, then it should slide right out. When I say a little bit of force, I do mean a little bit. It shouldn't take much force to take out the DVD drive. If it is not coming out with a few small tugs, make sure that you took all of the screws out. And if you, for a fact, did take all of them out, just give it more force until it does come out. I should also add, there are screws in that compartment where the rectangle square was, so also unscrew screws out of there too. From here, you need to take the keyboard of the laptop out, and this is actually going to be a little bit tricky. The reason why is you need to get some sort of prying tool under the keyboard, sort of. I don't know how to explain it. You will see next to the keyboard there is a small little crack, and you need to stick something in there and then pry. And when you do that, you should get the keyboard to pop out. I should also add, there are little tiny clips on the keyboard, and they are actually really easy to break. Once you get the keyboard loose, then you want to flip the keyboard over. The reason why is there is a ribbon cable on the keyboard. It's a really wide cable and extremely thin. And you have this little connector down here. Now, what you need to do to take the ribbon cable out is you need to go over and push on the black part of the connector. This is not part of the cable. This is actually part of the connector. And when you push on that black part of the connector, you need to pop it out on both sides, because one side's not going to actually pop both sides out if you push on one side, which is kind of annoying. But once you get the connector pushed a little bit like that, then you can actually take the ribbon cable out. And to put this ribbon cable back in, all you need to do is make sure that the connector is again popped out like that. And you need to hold it open with your hands. Then you can put the ribbon cable in, and then you can hold the ribbon cable in there, and then close the connector by pushing backwards on the black piece of plastic. So once the keyboard is out, now you have to take off the top plastic cover. When I say the top plastic cover, I'm talking about the stuff with all of the icons on it, like the Intel logo, the Windows 7 logo, and the Gateway NV55C piece of paper. And also it has the trackpad in it and all the speakers and the power button. All of that has to come off. And under the keyboard, you will see that there are a lot of screws that are holding in that piece of plastic. So all you have to do is go in there and just start unscrewing all of the screws that look like they're holding this piece of plastic in. And once all of the screws are out, the bottom of the laptop should be loose. When I say loose, I mean you will have to go over and pry the laptop bottom up, but it shouldn't be that hard from here. Now, once the laptop top is loose, now you can see that there are actually a few different cables that are holding the top still on. And that is a small ribbon cable and also a small blocky cable which goes over and runs stuff like the power button. And the ribbon cable is the same as the keyboard ribbon cable, same concept, it's just smaller and slightly harder to deal with. And then for the little blocky connector, it always feels like you're going to break it taking it apart, but it will come apart eventually. You might have to wiggle it back and forth a little bit, but yeah, it will definitely come out. It's just not the easiest cable in the world to take out. Now, the back right of the laptop top didn't want to come out, but I just aggressively shook it back and forth, and it did come out. But beware, shaking it aggressively back and forth can actually break some clips, meaning it won't actually look right once you put it back together. But for me, it was perfectly fine. To take out the USB ports, you are going to have to go over and unscrew them. It should only be one screw, maybe two. And once you unscrew the USB ports, they should become loose. Now, what is holding the USB ports in is a ribbon cable, as you see. And all you have to do is do the same thing as you did with the other ribbon cables to take the ribbon cable out. You need to make sure you put the new USB ports in the right way. And it should be really easy to make it go in the right way. There should be a hole in the USB ports, so it goes over and basically sits right where you took the old one out. And that is to ensure you don't go over and accidentally put the USB ports in backwards and then plug in the ribbon cable backwards and end up frying everything. That is a bad thing. And also, how you know you don't put the ribbon cables in backwards is the ribbon cable should be flat, alright? If the ribbon cable is twisted at all, untwist it and make the ribbon cable flat before you put the ribbon cable back inside of the port. If the ribbon cable is twisted, that means it is most likely the wrong way. So as long as the ribbon cable is flat, it'll be fine. And to put the laptop back together, do exactly opposite of everything you've done to this point, and that will put the laptop back together. And also, when you put the top of the laptop back in, it has clips, remember? So you need to go over and push down on all of those corners and sides of the laptop to make sure all of the clips are pushed in thoroughly before you go over and screw in the screws, just to make sure there's no weird gaps between the bottom and top of the laptop. And from here, I decided to clean the keyboard. And the keyboard is extremely dirty. The keyboard has not been cleaned in 13 years, or basically, it has never been cleaned since it was new 13 years ago. So this is the first time it has ever been cleaned. Now, there are several things to note. So anytime you take a keyboard apart, always take a picture of every single key. Not specifically every single key, but specifically the entire keyboard from many different angles. The reason why is there are probably about 100 keys on the keyboard, and you need to remember where every individual key goes. So the best way to do it is just have a reference picture just in case you need it. Yes, you might know the keyboard well, but it's still always good to have a backup just in case you don't know exactly where everything goes. Now, taking apart this keyboard, I really cannot recommend. The reason why is the keys often break when you try to take them off. I broke about 2 of them taking this whole keyboard apart. Yes, after I was then cleaning the keyboard and I put it back together, I was able to fix a couple of the broken keys that I broke, but some of them are still actively broken, and I cannot make them any better. So it is really just, I don't recommend taking this keyboard apart. Instead, just get maybe a Q-tip and just wipe between the keys with a Q-tip instead. Now, I'm not going to go over and fix the keys. Yes, I could go over and get a new keyboard for about $13, which is not that bad. I mean, it's an old laptop and it's a keyboard for a laptop, so it's a reasonable price. But the keys still work on this laptop. Some of them were already broken in the first place to begin with. But to be fair, this laptop I don't type on. It's my dad's laptop. He does not really use the keyboard that much. He just types simple, small words into, for example, eBay. So it's only like 3 or 4 words. and the keys work just fine. They just aren't really good for someone who likes typing like me. I would replace this keyboard as soon as possible. Of course, if the keyboard starts bugging him, I will replace it. Alright, so the speakers on this laptop have almost been broken since brand new. So about 10 years at this point they've been broken. And the problem with them is the bass. The bass sounds like a literal jackhammer, which is not ideal when you're trying to listen to music and it actually just sounds like a jackhammer. This is so broken. It's not supposed to sound like this. This is glorious. There, I fixed it. Nope. And I found a way to fix it, so all I have to do is go to the speaker settings in Windows 10, and then I go to the speaker properties, and I go over to where it says bass boost, or bass boost, and in the bass boost, I go over and set the frequency to 600 Hz and the boost level to 0 dB, or none basically. It's called none. From there, I go over to loudness equalization, and I go over and play with that until the speakers sound better. And by doing that, I can get rid of the need for bass or bass, and the speakers sound better. Don't get me wrong, they still sound horrible, but hey, they at least sound better. There we go. It's working. Stupid fix. Software related. I mean, it's not, but software fixed it. Not really. It definitely is not a good sounding speaker, but it is actually working, which is pretty awesome. And after I went over and played with the speakers for a little while, I decided to finish the cleanup by getting a wet rag and just simply wiping it down. Not soaking wet, of course, but just damp. And I think the laptop looks pretty good. It's definitely looking better than it did when I started, and it definitely is working better than when I started. But I still don't think it is the best shape it could be, because again, the keyboard is broken, but that's alright. Now, due to the length of this video, I will be splitting this video into two parts. The reason why is it's already getting long, and I don't know how many people are actually interested in repairing this versus the benchmarks of this laptop. So I'm going to make two different videos. The second video is going to be up next week, and that will be benchmarking several different games on this laptop to see how it holds up in gaming in 2023. Then sometime in the future, I will be doing a CPU upgrade to this laptop. Also, since I'm trying to turn this into some sort of business, I should say, if you are enjoying this video, can you leave a like or maybe a dislike? One of those two buttons, that would be amazing. And if you are new to the channel, if you could subscribe, that would be absolutely awesome. Thank you if you did. We're almost to 500 subscribers, which is halfway to 1,000, which is also awesome. Either way, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will catch you again next week. See ya!